Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gun Gals. We are streaming live from Gunpowder Beauty YouTube channel. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. We have a bunch of great ladies in our panel today. Let's start with, if I can get my phone to work. Let's start with 9 Millie Mia. How are you doing today?
Hi, doing very good. Thank you very much. Today was a lazy Sunday at home with the little guy, so we had a good day.
That is awesome. And we have that guy's wife. How are you doing today?
I'm good, finishing up my relaxing weekend before we start the week again.
No doubt. We are trying to get ready for the next week, but I got to be honest, I'm not really ready for it to start the new week again. I'm kind of wishing there's another day in the weekend.
No, we need one more weekend day.
Yeah, but tomorrow's back to the grind, so I'm okay with it, believe it or not.
No doubt.
As long as it's not like last weekend, I'll be okay.
Also, we have Sweet Pea. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Been enjoying my first day off this weekend and eating tacos and milkshakes. It's delicious.
That actually sounds really good.
It does sound good.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me this weekend, and hopefully we have a great show. Today our topic is, what is your favorite hunting, whether it's hunting, range day, 4-H, or home practice experience or memory? Let's start with Sweet Pea.
I think it was the very first time I ever shot my first gun, which is a Walther 22. It was a nice summer day, and I went to my normal shooting area. So Rob's over there getting the gun all together and prepared for me, explaining me what to do. You know, I was still very new to shooting, and just like that first experience of pulling the trigger and the gunpowder smell and just the rush of it was an amazing experience and probably one of my favorite moments.
No doubt. That gunpowder smell is something that you never really forget. Doesn't matter what age you are. Let's go next to that guy's wife. What is your favorite experience or memory?
Oh my goodness. Probably, I don't know. There's several because most of the time before here recently, I did most of my shooting with the 4-H kids. So
It can be one of each if you like. That is okay.
Actually, it's going to be a little off for y'all, I think. My favorite memory probably was probably been a year, maybe 2 years ago. Shooting archery, not during competition. It was just me practicing. I would go over and just shoot for like hours at a time. Because I don't have that anxiety when I'm practicing. And when my group would get really, really small and I could, put my fingers around it, it was just really awesome. So it was cold, it had snowed, there was still ice on the ground, and it was just really awesome. So
That sounds awesome. I'm actually looking forward to getting into archery. It's something that I told my husband I would love to start doing. I have yet to do it though. 9 Millie Mia, what is your favorite memory or experience?
So I was never into hunting myself, but my family always was. And my grandfather had a farm growing up, and one of my favorite memories. And it happened many times. I can't even pick out a specific day. But every hunting season, like not only all the men and women in my family would kind of gather at the farm super early in the morning. Some people would spend days there, go out on hunting trips, and there was enough land people could split up. Or I don't hunt. I'm assuming you don't hunt in large groups together, but I just remember it being so fun when everybody would come home and, when people would get a deer, it would be so exciting. And then, my grandpa had a smokehouse and just the whole thing, just being together with family and everything. It's just such good memories and looking forward to that part of the season every year. That, I mean, I can't even pick out a specific day because I like that happened every year for so long. And that's kind of the thing that sticks out the most for me. Getting to see people and trying out everybody's new toys and celebrating then whenever, especially when people got like their first year or, special times like that. So that's what sticks out to me.
Absolutely. That's probably my favorite memory of all is going hunting with my dad as a kid. Um, there's just something about it. I loved hunting with my dad. I would say my most favorites probably when I was like 10 years old. We had gone out hunting and we had seen this pretty nice sized buck, and I told my dad to shoot it. And for me was really awesome that my dad actually shot it. And then he laughs at me to this day because he's like, you sat there and you're like, why did you shoot it? Well, I shot it because you told me to. And so I kind of tell that to my husband occasionally, my dad listens to me. But yeah, hunting, I cannot wait to get my kids more involved. We've taken our kids out a couple of times, but just have them to where they actually stay awake would be good. But it would be, I think that would be a lot of fun getting the kids involved and having those experiences and moments and memories, most of all, where you were hunting as a family. Sorry, guys, my kids, they're.
That's okay. I even remember being as little as like 6 or 7 years old. And I remember too, some of the women that didn't hunt would also, like, we'd be preparing food. Like, I learned certain things to kind of make that would be good for the guys to take the next day. Just there's so many aspects of it that tie into family for me. It just, I mean, I think some people say about, I don't know the age for my kids, but I just remember even being just so little, like still playing with dolls and being there, so to me, I think the earlier the better, because those are the kind of things that stick out to me.
Absolutely. We have a 3-year-old, and he's gone out a couple of times, but for him, it's funny. You tell him that you're going out hunting, and he's all excited for the first 10 minutes, and then he gets quiet, and you look over, and he's passed out in the stand, and it's like, okay, well, at least the deer are going to show up. I mean, that's one of the good things about the kids passing out in the hunting blind or something is you don't have to really worry about them being too noisy. So, does anybody have any other memories? Whether it's range day, 4-H, or even home practice. I know we've sat there and talked about doing home practice. I've yet to actually do home practice around the kids, but we have done home practice around the house when they're at their grandparents' house. Just makes it easier and we're not falling over toys. But for us, I like range day because it's kind of like our own little time away from the kids, and we use it as a date night.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. For me, a memory of range day, I mean, with the farms and my family younger, growing up, like talking about a memory. one of the other things that sticks out to me is just learning to shoot when I was really young. And I know it's controversial to shoot things that like I, I don't know, blow up or whatever. But when you're a kid, that's really fun and exciting. And I remember like my grandpa putting things out that would just be more interesting for me to shoot as a kid. Like, I don't, you start off with things like cans and whatever. And I think the most, I think, controversial I could think of would be, I think he put a thing of soda out there one time. So of course, when you hit it, it kind of exploded a little bit. But I remember that being really fun as a kid, memory wise. And then, going to the range, like you said, date day, those are always fun. Like that's definitely some of my favorite times now, whenever we get to kind of have time away from the child.
Yes. I started out shooting with my dad on pretty much those big bales of hay. And then we moved to soda cans and then to like empty glass bottles and just hearing the bottle break. That to me was pretty awesome,
Yeah.
especially as a young kid.
Yeah, it makes it exciting. It's for a kid just to shoot at paper or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I guess to keep your attention, if you really love it, you really love it. But it just gave it that little something extra. So I agree.
Well, we actually had an old propane tank. It was so old that even if we had repainted it, sanded down the rust and everything, it still wasn't going to pass the inspection and get re-stamped. And so we had taken it to some family members' land and we had shot it. And that was probably the most fun as an adult, just seeing fire go up with a propane tank. It was kind of interesting. Do any other ladies have any interesting stories or favorite memories?
I had a lot of fun one day. My husband and his friend were at the shop shooting with some random guy. I don't really remember who it was. But apparently he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with the AR. And I come to hang out and stuff like that, and they say, "Hey, shoot this." I'm like, "Okay." Missed the first shot and then got every other shot. And they said, "Hey, you outshot this person." I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world because he was supposed to be a good shooter. It was definitely encouragement for me.
I think that is probably the best time for girls is you have somebody who's supposed to be, one of the better shooters or, great shot, and then they get outshot by a girl, as most of them would call it, and it's like, just because we're a girl doesn't mean we can't shoot.
I don't know.
That guy's wife. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but it was really cool, and I think I posted pictures in our Facebook group. It was really cool that when our 4-H group had our or our roundup, and then the coaches had a challenge, and the only thing I placed in was rifle out of the 4 disciplines that we did, which is still pretty awesome because our daughter was first, I was second, I think my husband was maybe fourth. It was pretty awesome. That was a pretty awesome day. Just saying.
That was a pretty fantastic day.
I will forever remember this day.
Yeah, I was
No
gonna
doubt.
say that won't be forgotten.
Yeah, where he said he used a pointy stick.
Oh,
I had a competition rifle and he had a pointy stick. So yeah.
that's too funny.
So other than that, I mean, I think my biggest memories as far as shooting and stuff it's not necessarily me shooting. I've enjoyed so much over the years watching our daughter shoot. I mean, it's just she has this just art about her. The way when she's in the prone position, the way she lays there, when she's in the kneeling position and she's got her shoe off, and then her socks don't match, and she's just and she gets up and gets comfortable again and gets back down. I mean, I just love catching photos of her in her element. So I think those are really my favorite memories. So
My favorite story about your daughter, do you mind telling everybody about the balloons that she had set up? That is such an amazing story to me.
Clover would have to tell about that one because I think she was out there with him. You know, I don't always see all of those things, so I may
That's
not have been
okay.
around for that one. Sorry.
That's okay. That's
How,
still a proud moment for
however,
parents.
there's a YouTube video out there. I want to say it's under Clover stuff. She was 14 when she shot his 50 cal. Which was pretty awesome. And I didn't get to see that in person. I just get to watch the video. And I mean, seriously, how many 14-year-old girls get to shoot a 50 cal? That's pretty awesome. Just saying.
No doubt. I'm 32 and I haven't shot a 50 cal, so I'm a little jealous right now. Anybody in the chat, y'all have got to go check out that video, especially the ladies who haven't really shot a lot. That is probably one of the greatest videos is seeing these young girls go out and handle their own in whether it's pistols or rifles or anything. It gives me a lot of encouragement knowing that if these young girls can do it, then I shouldn't be afraid to try it.
I'll definitely check it out.
So, yeah.
Clover posted in the chat, he said, shooting 6-inch balloons at 300 yards with a 22. That is awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
She doesn't really, I mean, she is like, I say it all the time, but when it comes down to shooting, I absolutely love watching her shoot. I do. Clover, she shoots with him more than me. She's usually busy teaching me instead of shooting with me. So, because she is typically my teacher. So,
That's sweet, though.
Yes. So I'm like, hey, I need you to show me how to do this. In fact, she recently, before she went back to school in January, a friend of ours, she actually went out and showed a lady who's, gosh, she's like 6 years older than me. So she's in her late 40s, I'd say. She actually showed her how to shoot so that she could go and take her concealed carry class. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
She's 19, and she was showing a grown lady in instructing her how to shoot so she could go and do her concealed carry class. So that's pretty awesome. So.
No doubt.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of 4-H where I grew up. Even though my family grew up in like farming area, I did not grow up in that area. That was quite a ways away from me. So we had to travel to get there. And I know most schools have 4-H and like we do have things like that around here. It just wasn't very big at my school. But hearing you guys talk about it, that's definitely something I want to look into for the future. It just sounds awesome.
Absolutely. I unfortunately didn't go to the high school that had 4-H. And so now I'm learning more about it in my 30s. And some of the stuff that everyone's talked about, I really cannot wait to get my kids involved because it sounds like a wonderful program. And I love that it teaches responsibility. It teaches leadership. And I mean, your daughter turned out fantastic, that guy's wife. I could only hope that my kids would take to it and turn out, half as well.
She is doing really well. I can tell you 4-H is not actually through the school. It is actually through the Ag Extension Office. For us it's in the Annex building, right off the square for us. But it's kind of part of the courthouse.
I don't even know if we have that, but I would definitely look into that. That's good to know. I thought it was through school.
No, but for the school now, the kids are offered. It's archery. I can't even remember what it's called. It's NAS. It's NAS. Natural National Archery in schools. NAS. Natural Archery. I can't remember. Anyway, but she actually was shooting in school and actually went to competition against kids all around the state that aren't in 4-H. Some are, and just because they cross over or whatever. And it was pretty cool. Her teacher apparently told her that he could outshoot her, and she's like, "Yeah, right." And so they actually had a competition, and he had to buy her a soda because boy did she outshoot him. So
that is awesome. She pretty much showed the dude, you overloaded your mouth. Now pay up. I need my soda.
She needs to join Gun Gals.
Well, I keep telling her, but she is so busy. She was home this week and busy or this past week, trying to keep up and get in touch with everybody that she's missed. Because she goes to
yeah,
school,
I'm sure.
Yeah, she goes to school full time, and she works anywhere from 20 to 35 hours a week. Plus, she takes tutoring, and now she's in a sorority, cat/club, whatever it is. And she's maintaining her A's, so she's on the president's list. She's just got a lot going. So
good for her.
So anyway,
she's a rock star.
I keep trying to get her to be involved in this. She's like, "Mom, I have to read this chapter in this book tonight." Like, okay, my
maybe
little nerd,
someday
go do what
she
you
could.
need to do.
Yeah, maybe somebody could just like interview her someday. Maybe, because it is a lot to maybe do once a week for somebody that busy. But maybe at some point, if she's on break or something, she would be a good person to interview for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, maybe get her on one Sunday during the summer and kind of just have her on the panel on one of those slower weeks during summer break. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, she'll be taking summer classes. We'll have to see how that goes. she's trying to finish her 4 years in 3, and then she'll finish her 5-year in 4. So anyway.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she is majorly.
She's got a lot going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway. That is really awesome.
But she really is. She's been hunting. She's been hunting for years. We've for years now. I've been able to take her and drop her off, take her gun and everything. She has her phone in her pocket. She walks around with her 22 and she shoots. I can't even remember what it is because it's funny. Because when we first started competitions with 4-H, her hunting rifle is what she used for her competition rifle. And, us little rednecks go into this shooting competition and all these kids have these $5,000 guns, and here she is. I can't even, maybe a little rascal, or I can't remember, but some little something compared to these other guns that people are shooting. So, but it's her 22, and she would go through. She likes it because she doesn't have to be quiet. She can go out. She can shoot her squirrels, and I have photos of her holding her little trophies, and her dad would make her clean them and stuff. She got to the point where she didn't like doing all that, so she'd say, "Hey, Granny, do you want some squirrel tonight?" Just because she wanted to go hunting, and they would actually clean them and keep them. So.
I do have to admit that squirrel hunting is probably one of my favorites just because we have squirrels at our farm that tear up feeders and seats and everything else that those little critters can get into. And so we love going out there with 22s and just kind of taking them out because they're kind of a nuisance. But we definitely sit there and make some really good food out of them.
Definitely.
Okay, so our next topic is raising kids around guns and what we do different from how we were raised. Also, do you feel it's harder or easier raising your kids around guns now from when you were a kid? Let's start with that guy's wife.
Of course. Our kids were, I mean, I'm trying to think, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old or so, I believe, when I actually remember us really having guns around the house and stuff. And it was really no big deal because my husband would take them out shooting um several times. I mean, I would come home and they'd be shooting. So it wasn't anything, it was really familiar to them. And it's not like when we first started out, we had a lot of guns or anything like that. So it's not like you found one in every corner like might would be the case today. Our biggest thing now is having our grandkids. I mean, I have to really put things up for our grandkids. The oldest granddaughter, she is very into things, and you have to really watch her. The middle one, you tell her to leave it alone, she's not going to mess with it. The youngest one, she's a year and a half, and oh my gosh, if it's within her reach, it's fair game. I mean, I am so exhausted at the end of the day. So with her, I make sure that things are put up where she is nowhere around them. Um, I mean, you could pop her; it doesn't matter. She's just it's different with this generation for us than it was with our kids. But me personally, I wasn't raised around guns, so it was kind of a new experience for me. So anyway.
Absolutely. And just to kind of throw it out there, if there's anyone watching that doesn't have kids, each child will have their own personality. So your first one may be the easiest child. You never have to get onto them. And your second can be complete opposite, or even your second and third, or, so forth. I know for us, we have three, and our oldest is about to turn 9. The middle is about to turn 4, and the youngest will turn 2 this year. And each one is a different personality and different character completely. I totally understand that. Um, 9 milli.
Yeah, I definitely think that the kids today are just not, they are just not what we were when we were growing up, our generation. And I don't know what it is. There are differences between, I mean, I was raised around guns, and I know that my parents were very careful. Nothing was like, I don't want to say nothing was loaded, but nothing was accessible like when we were at very young age, and then when we were at an age where we knew, we were just taught, if you want to see the gun, you come, you get me, we'll look at it together. If you want to shoot the gun, we'll go out, that whole, thing. And never was there ever a problem. And then, of course, with just, I don't know, like kids that would come over to the house aren't like there just weren't some bad kids like there are today. And I hate to make that judgment or whatever, but once when I started teaching, I noticed, I was like, man, this is not how my generation was in school. The peer pressure is bad. Everything is bad. So we had a little more access than what I allow in my house for my son. Now my son's very young. And everything is locked. He's only 3. He doesn't even know, that there's anything in the house. But as he gets older, I mean, I'm not, at some point, I want him to be taught like I was that, it's not bad that it's in the house, so that if he ever encounters something, not necessarily in my home, but maybe somewhere else, to know what to do and not to do. But it's definitely different. I think today's generation has to be just a little more careful. Not necessarily that your kids behave in a certain way, but you never know, how a friend could behave or whatever. And I'm not quite there yet, but I just know things have to be different than how I was raised. I think things have just changed in society, and I'm not quite sure why that is, or when that took place, but we definitely have differences. And even though my son is good, he's only 3, and I can't, say what he'll do when he's 12, but he's not interested in anything like that right now. I would never test it, but I'm definitely just going to be on the more cautious side, even if I would feel comfortable, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It is different. It's definitely different than how I was brought up.
Absolutely. Sweet Pea, how about you?
I don't have any kids, but I do think that time in the last even like 12 years and so has definitely changed. I think the world just seems a lot different from when I was a kid than from now. It just seems like people, I don't know, it's like the kids, they don't know anything about guns and stuff like that, and they've been sheltered away from it so much that they now think it's a bad thing. And they jump on like every fad phase there is, and so the whole "I'm afraid of guns, take guns away from everything" thing, it's the popular trend, so they jump on that shit. Not
Yes.
independent thinking.
Yeah, independent thinking is really hard for kids these days. I've noticed in the past, just 3 months, it's hard for kids to actually have a legit thought for themselves, not, oh, well, my friends think it, so I'm going to kind of go with it.
I don't remember hearing so much, how do I word it? Like negativity towards the gun world from when I was a kid till now.
I
It's like
agree.
if
And
you like guns, you're the bad guy, you're the enemy.
I almost even remember in school at what point they kind of started pushing the guns are bad agenda. It was like around middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And like you didn't really talk about it before that because it wasn't really an issue before that. And I don't even think the school shootings happened until I was like later, way later in high school. But it's just those types of politics were starting to just really come out. And I don't know. It just wasn't a problem when we were little. So it's just a different world, and I think everybody's just trying to find the perfect fit without over babying their child. Because, like exactly like you said, if a child is never exposed, never sees it, doesn't know what to do with it, when something happens, then they're not going to know what to do with it, and that's just as dangerous as if you were playing with a gun irresponsibly. Like for example, um, in the emergency room one time. I was brand new, like 22 years old, working in the trauma bay, and a motorcycle accident came in. Almost all motorcycle accidents are carrying. And as soon as we're cutting clothes off, guns always fall on the floor. And like on one of my first days, everybody just puts their hands up and jumps back, and nobody knows what to do with a gun. And here I'm 22 years old, and I slide the magazine out, and I'm just like, what's put it on the counter. It's okay, guys. Like the safety's on. Just take this out. You know what I mean? But so if something happens even younger, I don't know, just, I don't know. I think education is a big part of it. And for me, I have to find, I guess, at what age my child is responsible enough to get into that. Cause it's a fine balance with what's going on in society, what's going on in school, and what kind of friends they have and all that stuff. But I definitely agree. It just wasn't like that when we were young.
Now,
Absolutely.
as I say, our granddaughters, they don't shoot or anything. They don't shoot guns, and we don't have them laying around with them. But now, I've taken a few videos where Clover actually gets out, and our granddaughters, the the middle one, she just turned 4. She shoots archery. She shoots archery with my husband, and we keep everything put up. But it's pretty awesome. She gets so excited. She this most recently she learned how to not run when you're going down to get the arrows. And after him telling her like maybe once or twice how to walk back with them and hold them, she would do it. I mean, it was just amazing to watch her do it and being introduced to her so young for her to remember things and go ahead and start that discipline with her.
Absolutely. I know for us, our 3-year-old has shot a 17 mag and a 22, but it's always with his papa or with his dad. But we practice in-home gun safety. So whether he's got, his little uh, pop gun pistols or the cork guns or Nerf guns or something, we try to make it so it's a learning experience. I'm kind of the tough mom, so if he ever sits there and points any gun at somebody, it's taken away and he can't play with it for a few days. And we've actually played indoor gun range with our kid, and so we set up a target and he sits there and holsters the pistol in his pocket, and he even pretends to go and pick up ammo on the ground, and then he puts it in his pocket, and he sits there and waits for if it's someone else's turn to shoot. And it's such a cute thing to watch for him to sit there and already be at that point where he understands, you don't shoot when someone is in your path, and you've got to go and pick up your shells or casings or whatever, and you make sure that no one is in front of you, and you make sure that no one has a gun when you're going to go look at the target. And so we practice indoor gun range time. But my
awesome.
dad is a big part of that, because when he goes to the farm with my dad, he sits there and actually goes down to the creek and they set up a target. And so he's bringing back that learning experience with his pawpaw back to the house. And so we kind of have that added play training. And I was brought up where there was guns loaded and accessible in the house. Like, I knew where they were. I didn't know until I got into middle school. But I was brought up that they weren't toys. If your friends come over, you don't get a gun out and show your friends. And I knew exactly where they were. Most of the time it was a 357. I think it was the Colt revolver. And it was there loaded for if someone broke into the house. I was brought up that you don't play with them. And unless there's a threat, it better not leave where it's put up at. And that's what we're trying to raise our kids. We sometimes have our guns out because we're cleaning them, or we're going to do a video, and we'll have them sitting on the counter, and our son will come into the kitchen and he looks at it, and we're like, we're about to do a video, and he looks at it, and then he just walks and goes and plays on, because he knows that you're not allowed to touch them. And I really think that if a lot more parents sat there and started at an early age, it wouldn't be so hard for them later on. But at the same time, I wouldn't sit there and do this full time with our 9-year-old. One, we don't have our 9-year-old full time. We have him every other weekend. And then with my daughter, I don't know how she's going to be, because she is one of those handsy children that it doesn't matter how many times you smack her hand. As soon as she thinks you're not looking, she's going to reach for whatever it is. Like, best example right now, we sit there and get onto her about the remotes for the TV and stuff, and you smack her hand, and 5 seconds later she's thinking that she's reaching for the remote again, even though you moved it. And it's like, no. And you smack her hand again, and she throws a fit. And it's like, I just told you. And so I could probably smack her hand 20 times in the matter of like 20 minutes, and she would still do it. So she's one of those that we're probably going to have to watch out for. But it definitely is different raising kids now around guns than when I was a kid. I don't remember ever feeling like guns were bad. My friends knew that we were a gun family, but it was never, oh, well, your parents aren't here. Can we see them? Or, it wasn't peer pressure like that. It was always, my friends knew my parents, and so they knew what the rules were. and they knew that not only would I get in trouble, but my parents would probably smack their butts too if something was to come out of where it was and there wasn't a threat in the house.
Yeah, and I for my parents too, there weren't any kids over at our house who they didn't know. They didn't, like you said, they knew their parents, they knew everything about them, and my mom was always in our business, so we couldn't have played with anything even if we were trying to. I mean, it just wasn't happening, and that's it. I mean, I feel like if I'm gonna have that type of a situation in my house, that's the kind of parent I'm gonna have to be for a while too. So
exactly. I remember growing up, it was always if you got in trouble at someone else's house, you could guarantee you were getting in trouble at your own house because my mom was one of those big sticklers of, you know how to act. That's not how I taught you to behave. So you're getting in trouble not only at that person's house by them, but you're going to get in trouble at this house because you went over there and acted like that.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
Definitely.
Sorry, I've got kids that are sitting here trying to undo lotion bottles and sippy cups, and it's like, okay, I feel like they're about to start wrestling or something from the sounds that they're making. Okay, so don't really have my book close to me, so I'm kind of forgetting where I was at. Let's see. If y'all could give any advice to the new generation that kind of helped you get through, going through middle school and high school and all of that, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to the new generation?
Oh my gosh.
I know, I throw a little tough one out there for y'all.
Yeah. That girls are mean and it only lasts for a little while, and you know, when you are in a, I don't know, we're in a small school. You may seem like a small fish in a small school, and these bigger fish are just wonderful, and everybody just adores them. But you know what? Eventually, they have to jump into a bigger pond too, and most of them don't typically adjust very well. So, I mean, teach them to keep their head high, keep doing what they're doing. Don't let other people bother them. Don't let them bring them down. Stay on their path. Don't be discouraged. It's temporary. High school is temporary. It does not last forever. There is a whole huge world out there. So that's my biggest thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
9 millimeter.
It's hard. I mean, I had a great time in high school. I loved it. I know that is not the typical experience, and I feel like it even just gets worse every year. And the more stories that you hear about how bullying is ending up with suicides most of the time too, I feel like what Arminthia said is like hit the nail on the head. And I think the mean girl thing, yeah, it's going to get better high school. When you go to college, you kind of find the group of friends that is like just like you. Like you were looking for these people your whole life. Those are the people you stay in contact with usually for the rest of your life. Not typically. I mean, sometimes we all have a few high school friends, but not typically the ones that you were with in high school. But I feel like in once you get out there into the real world, the mean girls still exist. And you do have to learn how to just, like she said, hold your head up high, be confident in what you do, because those people are mean girls for a reason. they're not happy with something that's in them, and it has nothing to do with you and nothing to do with what, you're doing or you're going through. It's completely a personal issue with them. If mean people are mean for a reason, it's usually because they're lacking something in their life. And I think if people just hold on, I mean, everybody, at least in America and with the rights we have right now, we have the opportunity to design the life you want when you get out. If you want to live in a tree house, live in a tree house. If you want to have, your backyard be arranged, work to have your backyard be arranged, have land. If you want to live in the city, like whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to kind of hang in there. And the biggest thing that I would say now is if you see somebody else going through a hard time, you don't always have to be the hero and stand up to the bully, but just ask them if they're okay or tell somebody, because sometimes it's just, and I mean, I was a psych major in college too. That was my first major. Sometimes just talking to somebody is what can get them through just to the next day if they truly are having that, rough of a time. So I know that got a little deep for a minute, maybe not as deep as we were wanting to go. But that's like automatically where my mind went with the whole high school, middle school, and bullying thing.
Kind of like the Texas thing. Here, when we see somebody, we smile. I feel like I have a permanent smile on my face. My husband says that I flirt with everybody. It has nothing to do with flirting. It's me being nice. I could be that difference that made somebody feel better that day just by a smile, just
Exactly.
by speaking, saying hello. They may not speak back,
Absolutely.
but it could be that small difference that made a difference in someone else where it took absolutely nothing for me to do it that day.
Yes. And my mom and I, we go out sometimes, and it doesn't matter where we're at. I always ask somebody, "Hi, how are you today?" And they sit there, and most of the time they're like, "Thank you for asking." And they'll say, "I'm good. Thank you. How are you?" And my mom asked me one time, she was like, "You don't meet a stranger." And I'm like, just being nice to one person could change that one person's day. It takes me less than 5 seconds to sit there and say, "Hi, how are you today?" and smile at them. People don't understand that a smile and just asking somebody how their day is, they could have had the worst day ever. But you smiling at them, that is one person who showed them a little bit of kindness. And I think if everybody was a little bit kinder, this world would be a lot better place. People have gotten so involved in social media, their phones, their own personal lives that they don't realize that there is a person standing next to them. And that's what I'm trying to keep my kids from becoming is, this technology zombie, where they don't even take time to ask somebody, "How was your day?" or "How have you been?" or, something like that. And y'all are absolutely correct when it comes to high school. A lot of girls, they're trying to fit in with everybody else. And I think the thing that makes people the most beautiful is just being yourself. Because when you are yourself, you're going to attract the people that like you for who you are. When you are trying to pretend to be somebody, you're attracting the wrong kind of people. And it's a much easier time if you are just yourself, because then you will find other people that are like you and who like you for you.
Yeah, and it's 4 years go so fast in the grand scheme of things. Like, if you really are having that rough time, like you said, your time to shine is like just right around the corner. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Absolutely.
almost there. So 100% agree with everything everybody said.
Sweet Pea, do you have anything to add?
Be careful who you make friends with. Not everyone turns out to be the greatest. Be careful what you tell people as far as your deepest secrets. And if
Yes.
all else fails, do what I did. Beg your parents to homeschool you, graduate early, and hit college and have the best college years of your life.
That's good advice.
That, yeah, I was about to say that is really great advice, because with so many programs that they have nowadays, if you are having such a hard time in school. There's so many schools online that you can sit there and do all 4 years in 2 or 3, or if you do every single day, you could probably graduate in a year and a half. That's really great advice. Uh, that guy's
Yeah,
wife.
I was with the idea of homeschool and stuff like that, I really do like that. That's where 4-H and I always come back to 4-H because to me 4-H was such a huge deal in our family, for those little over 4 years, that it really helped us with communication. You don't think about it, but little things that helped us have windows into what was going on in our daughter's life. I really wish we had done it with the older two. Of course, it wasn't around until our son was a senior, and by then he was into band and music and guitars and stuff like that. So for him, it was a little different, and he didn't want to do all that. But with our youngest, asking her what her goals are, what she wanted to do. That goes into a lot of the 4-H stuff, but it helped us as parents know what she wanted and what she thought she could get out of this, where she wanted to go, what she wanted to do, what her ambition was. And for us as parents to help get her through that, for her to realize, whatever day she had at school or whatever, she had this whole different life. It wasn't just school and then you come home and your nose is in a computer or a book or whatever. She had this huge family. You know what I mean? Uh, Instead of our child having just two parents, every parent that was in 4-H was her parent too. So she had all these siblings instead of just the two that she had at home. Well,
I'll
by
tell you
then they
what,
were
I'm
grown.
with you. Bringing that up is a good point for a lot of the kids that are struggling with not having parents that are necessarily present in their upbringing and things. I mean, are those kids able to join 4-H without like their parents' involvement?
For shooting sports, they have to have an adult. Um, an adult. I mean, they have to be 18 to bring them. So it could be an older sibling or an aunt or an uncle. Because for shooting sports, they have to have an ID card. But for actual 4-H with
Okay.
the animals and other stuff, no, they don't. So.
That could even be something too to
Mhm.
steer, those kids that are kind of lost in that area. I knew a couple in my school who their parents just were nowhere to be found. Like didn't even come to like parents' night on our, like homecoming for sports nights, when your parents walk you out on the field, things like that. Like super awesome, bright kids that wanted to be involved so much and just didn't have anybody. That's like just kind of shot to the front of my mind when you said that about the
Yeah.
extended family piece of it, because that could be really great for kids like that.
But I really think that
Absolutely.
if there was a door open that they could go into 4-H, that it would stay that way. Once they realize that there's this connection and this communication, with their child, it's something that they're able to talk about together and bond with. It's not a forced thing. Like, okay, what was your day like? What did you do? What did you hate? Okay, 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 okay. Are we done now? It's not like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's something that the parents tend to enjoy, the kids enjoy, and there's just this. They find a common ground where they can enjoy something together, and even if they don't necessarily, they have all these other kids that are thinking the same way they are, and they're able to talk with other kids that have likes and dislikes and things that they all are can talk about together.
Yeah. Oh, it breaks my heart to even think like just the situation where a kid would hate school so much that they would want to be pulled out of school. And I think that hearing people that have had those positive experiences with homeschool and been able to go on to college and live awesome, like happy college lives, that's so inspiring. And the things we're talking about with 4-H, it's just, I feel like it's just so much more common nowadays too. You just hear of it so much more. I can't tell you in the last 2 years how many people have told me they've pulled their kids out of school or their kids really want to be homeschooled. And you maybe heard that once or twice when I was in high school. Like 1 or 2 kids really didn't want to be in school. But I don't know, I feel like it's getting a little worse each year. So it's good to have resources like that available and out there for people to know about.
Absolutely. I wish that more kids had better options. I know that not every school is the same, but for those that, they're unable to enjoy their high school experience, I am really glad that there's the homeschooling option. And I'm really glad that 4-H, all you have to do is be a family member to sit there and get into the shooting aspect. I know that for me and my husband, we will most definitely be involved. But for those that, they either live with their aunt or they live with their sibling, that's a really great opportunity for them to sit there and get into that too.
Yeah, definitely.
I love having these conversations because I am learning about more 4-H every week that goes on.
Me too.
Well, I apologize if I have stolen the show or talked too much. I just
Oh no.
it's been such a huge part of our life.
We enjoy you talking about the 4-H and kind of filling us in on what is out there. I know that 9mm and I have kids around the same age, and so it's definitely something that we're looking into, and so these conversations are really helping us out a lot.
Well, I'm glad. So, yeah, we're coming up 9:30, and I think midnight just went live.
Yeah, I just saw that we have gone past our hour. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been a great show, ladies. Thank you for coming on and having these great conversations and sharing your experiences and your stories. I'm sorry, it's 9:33. I apparently can't talk now. Do any of y'all want to plug anything before we head off of here?
I can plug my husband real quick. I still don't have my channel going, but it's coming. Midnight Range TM is on right after this with, I think it's a food/gun chat. I did not see his agenda. We haven't seen each other very often this week, but I'm going to head over there after this. Everybody's welcome. It's usually a fun time. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, Sweet Pea.
Thank you
Do
for
you want to
having
plug
me.
anything?
As always, it's been a blast. I love these kinds of chats. And if you want to find me on YouTube, go ahead. It'd be fun.
And what is the YouTube channel so the folks can find your channel?
Sweet PC. It's underneath Sweet PC.
Awesome. And that guy's wife. Do you want to plug anything?
Feel free to check out my channel. I've got shooting videos. I've got some craft things. I'm working on a new one where I'm actually adding some rhinestones to my hearing protection that I wear. So that'll be a video coming out hopefully by the end of the week. So anyway, check me out. It's either under That Guy's Wife or under Armencia, either one. So thank you.
I am super excited to see those bedazzled earmuffs. Those are cute.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you, ladies. This has been amazing. And thank you, Liz and Gelsma Outdoors, for letting me host the show this week. We cannot wait till next week when y'all are back. And it is back on Gelsma Outdoors at 8:30 Central Standard Time or 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And as always, everybody, do it outdoors. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.